And I just been laying there the whole time. And next thing you know, I just started to hear like heavy boots on stairs, because the stairs is right outside my door. And I'm starting to hear a bunch of heavy boots. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And what I didn't realize was that same guy I seen in the shower, somebody, the guy that works at the work release, he found him in the bathroom. He found the guy in the bathroom, laid on the floor, face blue, pants pulled down around his ankles, and he apparently was suffering an overdose. So he performed CPR on him. They called the fire department. The fire department was who I heard on the stairs. They came and pulled him out of the bathroom and laid him right at my door. And they're performing CPR on this guy. I'm standing at the door looking down at the guy, and I know he's not coming back because of how blue his face was. And they got the machine now, but at the same time they're kind of pumping on his chest also. And they performed at least for 45 minutes trying to bring this guy back. And the guy that works at the work release and the lady that works at the work release is a black lady. They were both kind of shook up, that you could tell, but they did their thing. They performed CPR until the fire department came. This started probably like late 2:30, 2:40 in the morning, and it ended at probably about, I would say, close to 4.
So that was Thanksgiving morning.
That was Thanksgiving morning.
Yeah.
And by that time, they come upstairs with a white body bag and put the guy in it and take him downstairs, take him out, pronounce him dead. And it's just real quiet now. It's like, out of all this commotion, it's just real quiet. And I'm just sitting there like, did this really just happen?
Do you know how long he had left to be there?
I believe he only had a couple months. And it was funny is I was talking to a guy today on the bus, because the guy had to go get his bus ticket, and he was talking about the guy. The guy I was on the bus with today was talking about him, saying that this guy had big plans to sell used cars across the country. Him and his friends was going to auctions and buying cars, and his friends were already doing this in preparation for him coming home. The guy was going to be reunited with his 21-year-old daughter. And by about 6 o'clock in the morning, when they called breakfast that morning, they started to call us room by room down to breakfast, and it was just solemn. The staff, by the time the graveyard shift had went home, and so the morning shift was there, and that staff was just really solemn and just kind of like, they couldn't believe they came to work and somebody had died.
Yeah. And because it's work release,
it's work
not
release.
Really something that happens. People are ready, they're about to go home, so
yes, that's
not really what happens.
And so Misa, one of the staff members at the work release, said that they found a bottle, almost a full bottle of liquor, needles, and a bag of dope by the toilet where the guy was found at.
So they think it was intentional.
They think that he just, either it was intentional or he went on a super binge, but they said according to his drug history, he should have known that would have killed him. And so the guy that was on the bus with me today, he's an old addict, and he told me that any addict knows that you don't mix liquor with that, because the liquor enhances everything and you cannot determine how much you're putting in your body. So it's almost like you're doing it on purpose, so you don't know how much you're putting in, you can just go. And he said when you start to feel the effects of an overdose when you're on liquor, the liquor and that mixes together, and he said you can't do anything about it. It's just darkness comes over you and you just go quick. That's what he told me today. He said, you know you're dying, but there's nothing you can do about it. And so,
but like, why? If he seemed to have so many things going for him, what did they think changed?
In my experience in dealing with addicts, as much as I have in my life, I do know that it doesn't matter if you have something bad going or something good going. When something in an addict's life changes, they go to drugs. They go to drugs to cope, and they go to drugs to celebrate. So when something good is happening, they can't even feel good about it until they get some drugs. When something bad is happening, they can't cope with it unless they get some drugs. Yeah. So it's almost like you have no determination of what he was doing, using the drugs for. And the guy, Misa, the staff member that was telling me what they found on the floor in the bathroom, he was saying you have to call this guy's daughter and tell her
on Thanksgiving
morning. And he was shook up about it. So it was crazy. And then next thing you know, they, of course, they're watching the camera. They seen the fact that I talked to the guy, and so police wanted to talk to me. Then they watched the camera more later they tracked the camera earlier that day, and they seen everywhere he was at. So they kind of shut down the whole work release because they thought maybe he was stashing dope somewhere. And they're under the impression that if this guy went into the bathroom and was as blue as he was when they pulled him out, just the timetable on camera, that fentanyl might have been involved because he just went so fast. And so they're thinking like, if there's some more stash around here, we gotta find it.
Or are they saying that because he was able to be in there so long and nobody found him for a while? And they were supposed to like do checks and stuff.
Well, yeah. Their thought process. One thing that's kind of frustrating about these people is that their thought process is not ever clear, and they give us so many different points of view because the staff be telling us stuff they ain't supposed to tell us, and then when the official when the official people say something, you can never believe it.
Yeah.
So you don't never know exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating. The whole thing is just frustrating.
So, I mean, it definitely was just a sad thing when you told me, like, I was shocked. But, like, honestly, and I feel bad. I honestly feel bad for feeling like I felt because I kind of was like, we already, like, in my mind, last year was the last Thanksgiving I was going to have to spend without you. Mm-hmm. So, it's already starting where we can't spend Thanksgiving together. We know that. But we were getting to talk for an hour until this last COVID thing happened. Mm-hmm. And your hour normally is when you're at work, so we don't even get to talk on the phone for that hour. But I'm like, oh, it's a holiday. I'll be able to at least talk to him for an hour. And you called me at like 10 something in the morning for 10 minutes, and that was all I got to talk to you all day.
Shameful.
So anyway, the part that I didn't tell you was that I went to Tyler and Tay's house that night, Friday night, after dropping you off for work, or when I came back from giving you lunch. Mm-hmm. And I was telling them kind of what happened with the guy. And honestly, because I was just telling them how, like, it's so hard to be grateful all the time for these little bitty crumbs that we get, even though, like, other people aren't getting to take you home and all that stuff. But it was sad for me to have to spend another holiday without you, but then having to spend it, like, not even getting to talk to you. And then them keeping you in your room all day, like, that can't be good for anybody's morale after something like that. Right. And I just broke down crying. I mean, I cried ugly.
Over Tyler?
Yes, and I probably freaked him out because I think Tyler's maybe seen me cry at Grandma and Grandpa's funeral, like, the only times. And I was literally, you know those cries when you're talking and you're telling the story and then you're just like, you feel your throat kind of close up. And then it's like over and I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna cry. And it was just like, like literally the ugliest cry.
I'm sorry.
I felt so conflicted because I was crying for both of us and just the whole situation. And like, this ending of the process, it's been so sucky.
Yeah.
Every single thing that could not be right.
Well, remember when I first got to work release and it was August and we knew we wasn't going to see each other, and we kind of had it, I think we had in our minds that by the time we got to this point, something would give, something would be better. And it's almost like it might be worse.
Like, I was really thinking about that. Like, I don't, of course, ever want you to go back to prison, but at least when you're in prison, I knew the routine. Yeah. And I could know when to expect to hear from you or what you were doing or where you're at or how you were. Like, here, because even if I couldn't, still was a slight chance that I could have JPay'd you. You got it. We wrote back a few times. Here, if you're not on the phone, I can't, there's nothing. There's no way for me to communicate with you at all.
No, I feel you.
And then it's like, I feel like you're supposed to be like reacclimating to society, and thankfully you get to go to your job, but like, you haven't even been to the house yet.
No, I haven't.
You don't know anything, like nothing. You don't know what my life looks like yet, and it's almost been 4.5 months, and I'm just still like the girl that shows up. Like, you haven't even got to see that side yet.
I haven't. It's hard sometimes, but I know I have to get over these hurdles to make it to the finish line. But when I left the joint, there was a part of me that was able to let my guard down, because I was like, I know I'm not going home, but I'm going to the streets, right?
Yeah.
So when you let your guard down, one thing about your guard is you can't put it back up once you let it down. Not emotional guard. So what ends up happening is, what these people don't realize is that when I go to work and I get these freeing feelings when I'm in the car with you, freeing feelings, I get to kiss you and hold you, grab your butt when I want to. Those are freeing feelings. And then every single time that they tell me, lock up, you're restricted to your room, it feels like the joint again. And so I've already let my guard down. So then when that happens, I don't really know what to do. It's a fucked up feeling. I don't even know how to describe it. So I was sitting in there for the umpteenth time, locked up for something I didn't do.
That's the other
Back
thing.
at the joint for something I didn't do. I was just having these feelings like, and I kept trying to think about dude, but part of me just was like I can't keep doing this. I don't know if I can take one more incident.
Because we were talking about, everything that has affected us has not been because of something we've done.
Not one thing.
It's all been because of others, and we're just having to suffer through it. And that's the frustrating part, because I mean, I see that. We had years of that in prison, but work release is supposed to be so different, and it is not. It's worse.
The only good thing about work release, honestly, when I was thinking about it, I was like, there's got to be something I could say I can grab onto. I wasn't able to save no money in prison.
That's true.
That's the good thing.
Now you rich rolling.
No, I'm saving ducats. I'm saving ducats. But you know, these little things that these people do, where they always see me and these incidents happen, and they always come to me, boom, I said, thank you, Mr. Bell, for just being grown or being, you know.
Not a problem.
Yeah, not a problem and all that. That doesn't do anything for me.
Right.
I don't care. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. It's not for you.
Thank you.
I get it, but that doesn't do anything for me. You tell me that. If you really grateful, let me go home.
The same thing, babe. Like when people are like, I know, but you're almost there. It's almost over. And I'm just like, you don't think that I know that it's almost over? That is not helping. Yeah. Because right now, it is and it's been and it's probably on its way to being for the next month and a half. I know that it's almost over. Like that. And I know people are trying to be like, let's give her something or let's say something because they don't know what to say. But that ain't it.
They'll never know that that's not it because you can't tell them that, because then you'll be an ass.
Then I'm an ass for not being.
I told Jarrell tonight about what happened on Thanksgiving, and I heard Gromit back there like, oh my God. And I was just telling him like all the stuff that's been happening.
Babe, every time I tell, like even when I was breaking down with Tyler, he was like, you guys have been you have been hit with every random out of your control thing you could be hit with.
He gets it.
And it just keeps coming. Yeah. I know that it's for a reason. I know it's going to be part of our testimony, part of our story. And I know that in the end, we'll be able to really be like, Lord, I know you got this. And the thing is, I know that the Lord knows I'm grateful deep down in my heart. He knows that because I am. It's just not surface grateful.
Yeah.
And one day, I think that we'll be able to be like, okay, see, we had to do that to know how to handle this, or be able to sow into somebody else something that we've been through. But right now, it's like, I don't want another lesson, Lord.
I don't want another lesson.
Lessons up.
You know, what's funny is like, today I was thinking two things. Number one, we was talking about me going to the bank with old boy, no girl on the phone and all that.
Yeah, I just edited that today.
And the three of us all came the same day. I'm the only one still here.
Mm-hmm.
And...
Well, okay. So let's pause there, because you're going to have to tell them that, because they've already heard you talking about old boy, no girl in the bank and the Dollar Tree story. Mm-hmm. We haven't even... I'm not sure if I've told them the story about what she was saying about you on the bus. Honey, White Whisper over here, he got girlfriends, honey. Her and then the other one that was like, that you thought was the worker. What she said about me.
Oh, you crazy. Well, that last thing, remember the guy that told you that his mom called and turned him in?
Yeah.
He was only gone for a few days? He had 22 days left. That's what drugs is. That's what I be trying to make you understand about drugs. Like, they don't care. They need it now. And
that's so sad.
It just doesn't matter.
That's why I told you to stop threatening people, because you was threatening them from climbing out windows to get drugs. And even though normally a threat from you would be heavy, not when you trying to fight an addict. He don't care.
I ain't fought addicts before.
He ain't worried about you though.
No, he ain't worried about me.
He's like, okay, he might hit me, but if I got this hit after, it ain't gonna hurt no more.
I done seen the addict forget about them drugs when he get body slammed though.
Okay.
He forget about it for a second.
We're not body slamming people anymore.
The thing is, when you body slamming, you gotta say, you think I'm playing with you. Boom, and then do it. When you do that,
get out of here. I cannot with you.
They are